Well, if you've seen my videos before, you'll know this is a bit strange. I'm actually stood up rather than sat down at my table. Reason will become obvious in a bit. But it may mean the camera work, etc. is a little bit dubious this time. So I'll apologise for that right up front. In fact, you can probably see the edge of a camera up here sometimes. Not a lot I can do about that. I'm working in restricted space. Right, so let's get on with this roundle. It's a special roundle because it's to celebrate somebody's wedding. I thought about keeping the names hidden, but actually there's not a lot I can do about it because they're built into the design. This is the design, hopefully you can see up here, I intend to do. So the first thing I need to do is make my roundel. And I have skipped slightly. As you can see, I've got a round piece of glass. Now we will cover glass cutting in the near future, but in the meantime, if you're no good at glass cutting, make friends with your local glazier, for goodness sake. And they should be able to cut some round glass for you, or any other shape, size you want. Local glaziers, brilliant people. So I've got my piece of glass. I've got a 9mm, take that away, flat profile adhesive lead. It's important it's flat profile, that's easier to use. If you still have problems using it, maybe your fingers aren't as strong or something, you can warm it up with a hairdryer and it'll become more malleable. But word of warning, it retains heat remarkably well and it's easy to make it too hot to handle, so to speak. So be very, very careful if you are heating it up. You don't want to heat it up too much, just enough to make it a bit softer. So I've got my 9mm adhesive lead. I've got some steel wire, just general steel wire I got from a local DIY shop. It's actually B&Q. If you're in another country, that's just a big hardware do-it-yourself shop. And it's just general purpose steel wire. And I believe it's 0.9mm in diameter, so just under a millimeter. If you haven't got that, then a good old standby is paper clips. You can straighten them out and use those, but I do find those a little bit harder to work with than this wire. So I've got my wire, because this is a special roundel. For a special occasion, I'm actually, rather than just putting a hook on it, I'm going to put a chain on it like that. And other stuff, I will need this pencil. Seems a bit strange, but that'll come into use. And I've got a boning tool. Don't worry if you haven't got this, it's just a hard piece of plastic basically, and I'm going to use it to smooth the lead down. But if you haven't got it, usually the edge of a pen or something will work just as well. So don't worry too much about the boning tool, but obviously if you've got one, use it. So the first thing I'm going to do is make the two hooks. So I'm going to use the wire. Now I'm going to err on the side of making them longer, because this is quite a big piece of glass. It's going to be fairly heavy. I can always cut them down if they're too long, but I'd rather do it that way round than make them too short. So let's cut two roughly the same size. So I want two hooks. Oh, slightly difficult to cut. And also, I'm going to need to have the chain on there. Now, I've not done it like this before, but roughly in the middle, bring those two up, round, and put a couple of twists in there. Try and get it quite tight. I say I might cut these arms down a bit, but we'll worry about that in a bit. So I've now got the hook there with the chain through it and the two arms coming out. Right, do the same the other side. Try and get roughly the same amount of twists in each side. Yeah, it makes an annoying noise. And my two arms coming out. They'll rest along the glass like that, and the lead will go, well, they're going to go through the lead and then rest like that. So, put that to the side. I've now got to cut my lead, and I want it to overlap. So, getting there. Oh, a bit of a mistake there. It'll tighten. I'm going to cut it. And I'm also going to mark halfway. So that's where it joins. Oops, that didn't work very well. That's where I'm going to cut it. So I know that's my overlap. That's halfway. I have to decide where I want the hooks. I'm going to have them about here and here. So I want them equally distant from what is the halfway, ignoring the overlap. So I'm going to do one about there. Then I'll measure it and do the other one. One about there. Just a little hole, make sure it's gone all the way through. And then that to halfway. That to halfway. And again, in the middle, little hole there. Make sure it goes all the way through. There we go. So now, put the prongs together, and hopefully we should be able to push them through that hole, if the hole's big enough. There we go, right down to where the join is, and then splay them back out again. Doesn't have to be too perfect at the moment, we just want to make sure it doesn't pull back through. And same this side. Again, splay them back out. So they don't fall off. Right. I'm now going to take the backing off the middle here, because I just want to start it in the middle, make sure we get that first bit on. So again, you want it in the middle because you want it to be equal distance both sides. Now you won't get it perfect, never do, and then start squashing it down. At this precise moment you're just squashing it to keep it on. Doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but don't squash it so close to these hooks that you're not going to be able to get them on. So try and get roughly an equal amount on both sides. That's close enough, if not too close. Now take a bit more of the backing off. Hope you can see this okay. This is the hard part. Not getting the backing off, putting the hooks on. Normally, for normal size roundels, I only put one hook on, no chain, and then people can use one of those suction caps with a hook to put it in their window. But I say this is going to be something slightly special, so I would like this chain on there. Now what we want to do is get that wire, if possible, on the actual rim of the glass, or at least some of it, if not most of it. I'm having slight issues doing it whilst I'm showing you how to do it, if that makes sense. There we go. If all else fails, you get your knife in there and poke it into the right place. That looks as though it has gone okay. Right, but we're in a bit of a pickle at this side. There we go. And again, the same this side. Right, I'll speed this a little bit up because you've just seen one. And now I'm just going to carry on going round, and as I put the lead on, I'll just pinch it together. Shouldn't have done this on a fluffy surface. Always pinch towards the end. Don't be tempted to start this end and pinch back that way, because you might find you get a bit lifted off the glass. I say, if you find this too hard, warm the lead up a little bit. You just use your hairdryer. Sorry, I've got one here somewhere. And you can just, if your hairdryer is switched on, and so do be careful, because it does retain the heat exceptionally well, being lead, but that does make squeezing just that little bit easier. Right, that's that bit done, and again I'll speed up. Now don't be tempted to do that end bit until you've sorted this bit out. So now I'm going to my boning tool, and hopefully you can see that this smooths the lead down. Lead's very malleable, very pliable, but I want this bit first. Right, something's gonna miss that. It's folded back on itself a little bit. And it's worth taking your time over this. So I shall carry on. Smoothing that down until I'm happy with the finish. Well, I'm sat back down again and feel more comfortable like this. So I've finished the roundel. You'll probably find there's one side you prefer to the other. Make that the side you work on. I have blue tacked the design under the glass, just teeny little bits of blue tack, making sure this distance and this distance are the same, so everything's nice and central. That's the blank roundel finished. In the next video we'll look at the outlining and the painting. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to our email list, you'll find it on our website, or obviously you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or maybe join one of our Facebook groups. Happy crafting!